Good morning. This is Through the Scuffed, coming at you live with Apollo Justice Ace Attorney. Let's get this started, shall we? Well, just the audio on my end real quick. I think that's good. There we go. Now, I do not remember the voices I gave to all these characters, so let's go ahead and check in real quick. So I gave him. Let's start with Phoenix. Phoenix has mostly my standard voice, just a bit toned down from the voice I'm speaking with right now, really. Gavin was toned down even more, with a lot of emphasis on his. Well, on everything, really. I wanted him to sound incredibly competent and intimidating, because he is the only competent person here, really. Shady doesn't have a voice. Winston is a sort of a screechy little guy. Olga was me struggling to do a female voice. Don't remember how that turned out. And then the judge was sort of just a goofy guy. Very clearly a voice, not trying to be serious in the slightest, because he's not very serious himself. And then Apollo. I think I tried to give him a raspy voice in the beginning, but my throat was feeling better, so it didn't really work out. So I think I just gave him like 4Kids anime dub voice. Yeah, that sounds about right. So, and let's just check. Nope. Don't think there's anything else for us to review. Let's head into it. That was quite unexpected, Mr. Wright. To suddenly claim there was another person at the scene of the crime like that. I must ask, is it the truth? Well now, I think you would know the answer to that. Ah, being mysterious, are we? Sadly, I've no time for mysteries. You know, I don't think I did Wright's voice correctly there. We'll work on it as we go. I'd only ask that you leave the defending to your defense in the future. Otherwise, I cannot guarantee the outcome. I see you haven't mellowed out one bit, Christoph. Justice? Yes, sir? The judge has summoned me to his chambers, so carry on without me. You did well, Apollo. Can I ask you something? Sure. That locket you wear. Is it really yours, Mr. Wright? Ah, you're wondering about the victim's disappearing locket. Here, you can take a look at it. There's a picture of my daughter in there. I'm just surprised to hear you had a daughter. Most people are. Perhaps you'll meet her one of these days. One more question. The one who cheated that night, was it you? What do you think? Huh? You know what happened 7 years ago. What I did. It's not unreasonable for you to think that I might cheat. I never, honest, but it is odd that he managed to go undefeated for 7 whole years. Want to know something? There's only one game where you can be dealt bad cards all night and still win. Rough delivery there. Poker. Eh? You see, poker is all about reading your opponent. In that way, it's a lot like a court case. Poker is like trial law? Figure out what your opponent is thinking, and you win. Well, yeah, but that's harder than it sounds. I think not. Try as they might to conceal it, everyone reveals their true thoughts in the end. Their body language can become a valuable source of information. You're kidding. That witness, for instance, Miss Orley, she would touch the back of her neck during certain parts of her testimony. Did you notice? No. Come on, who noticed that? Words, habits, twitches, it's all information for the reading. That's the secret to winning, Apollo. Someone taught me, and now I pass the secret on to you. But I'm not worthy. I mean, there's no way I'll pick up on these signals. No, you can do it. Huh? You just don't know it yet. What's he talking about? But you will. Soon. Ah, almost forgot. One more thing. About this case. You should know I haven't told the truth to anyone yet. What? I knew it! Right, I should clarify. I still cannot, you know, scream. So we'll be getting these weird, raspy whisper screams instead. I have all my reasons, of course. All shall be revealed. And Apollo, I need you to be there, defending me. I need your power. My, power? I had no idea my cords of steel were that special. It's time. The real trial begins now. Do your best. Oh, really? Okay, I stopped last time right before the to be continued, of course. I mean, I felt like there was one coming up, but I, you know, didn't really want to keep going. What the heck? Oh, that time is not... That timestamp is completely wrong. Alright. Yep, keep going. Court will now reconvene. Ah, you're... Okay, yep, give me a second. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that brief, disappearance. Yeah, okay, I think... Yeah, we're back, okay. Court will now reconvene. Has our witness, Miss Olga Orley, recovered? Yes, Your Honor. Well, she's regained consciousness. Perhaps we can hear her version of the events again? That's the thing. You see, she's quite fatigued. You're looking a bit fatigued yourself, Mr. Payne. Sadly, fatigue is insufficient grounds for refusing to testify or prosecute. The defense would like to request that Miss Orley take the stand. Very well, the witness will take the stand. Perhaps you could repeat your name and profession? Or perhaps you'd rather admit that you're a poor liar and a poorer loser. Yeah, not... Okay, so how do we voice her now? This is once again gonna be an issue. We're not gonna encounter this with every female character because I feel from what I remember, I can do quite a few of them probably. I'm just struggling with her because, well, she's like right in the middle of where I can't do. Other than, you know, like children. Let's think. Name's Olga Orley. That's the truth. I'm a pro dealer. People call me Olga Quick Fingers Orley. Oh. Oh, really? Wanted to know something else? I'm not really Russian, and my last name sounds like oh really. There, that's the truth. I hope you're satisfied. Witness... no, wrong person. Witness, you will tell the court what you were really up to that night. I think I made him a bit too nervous there. We'll work on it. Fine, I'll talk. We had a plan, see. Let me remind you that you are currently under oath. Any further fabrications will have serious consequences. Fine. Like I said, I'm a pro. That guy, Smith, hired me to do what I do best. I was planted at the Borscht Bowl Club several days prior to the night of the game, as a waitress. So, you were in cahoots with the victim. Not that he needed my help. Smith is a well-known poker player in some circles, but winning wasn't the main purpose of this game. It was about destroying a legend, the unbeatable Phoenix Wright. The plan was simple, elegant, really. You see, we set up a trap of sorts. I was to plant a card in Wright's pocket beforehand, and then deal 5 aces during one of their games. When their hands were revealed, Smith would call him out and search Wright. He would then pull out the planted card and the trap would snap shut. You swapped the card. Wait, I didn't leave a voice to Smith. Ah, my lack of planning has come back to bite me. Alright, we'll just leave him as text. Exposed as a cheater and losing on top of it, it would have made a great double play. Just like that, the legend would be dashed to pieces. Indeed. Getting caught red-handed at cheating would cast doubt on all his prior wins. A 7-year legend destroyed by one little card. That was the plan. Oh, really, Orly? How droll. But it appears you made quite the mistake. A mistake? I agree. The trap was elegant. Yet what happened to that planted card? Hey, that's right. He's lucky, I'll give him that. You'd have to beat the slip free from a trap laid by Olga Quickfingers Orly. Oh, really? The witness would be much cuter if she dispensed with the evil mastermind shtick. Cute? Who wants to be cute? I'm not cute. I'm bad. You hear me? Bad! Well, no. Not really. When you're through being bad, perhaps you could testify to the court? Tell us about this trap and how it was sprung. That night, I planted the card like I was supposed to, and Wright lost the hand just like he was supposed to. Then Smith searched him, but the planted card was gone. The trap failed. The next moment, Wright picked up a bottle and swung it. It wasn't me who hit Smith, it was that no-good cheating defendant. A surprisingly frank testimony that still leaves us mostly in the dark. The trap was perfect, I tell you. Perfect, if that rotten cheater hadn't messed it up. Look who's talking! Wait, what kind of voice did I give Apollo just then? Look who's talking. Look who's talking. I'm not sure. I've done that before, but I'm not. It's not ringing any bells. Well, it is, but I can't get it out, really. Well, the testimony, for what it's worth, is all yours, Mr. Justice. What, with witnesses like her, who needs criminals? And with defendants like Mr. Wright, who needs prosecutors? Alright. So, this first one, the first testimony of the night. Let's see. Well, it's right here. I believe they're going to give me a tutorial now on spotting body language, since that's what she's doing here. So let's see how that goes by pressing. Wait, isn't that a little odd? What's odd? You searched Mr. Wright thoroughly and found nothing, right? Which means he didn't cheat. Which means he had no reason to strike the victim. What? Well... What was that just now? I sensed something. Something wrong, Mr. Justice? No, nothing, Your Honor. What to do? Should I press her a little harder? Miss Orley, you're hiding something. What are you talking about? You? Me? Quick Fingers Orley? Hiding something? The defense will refrain from baseless accusations. I have one question for the witness, then. You say you saw the moment the defendant hit the victim. Is this true? Of course it's true. I did see it, honest. I saw it when Wright hit him. With my own eyes, I saw it. What's this weird vibe I'm getting? Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. Hold on, one moment. Oh, you're joking. Okay, that's unfortunate. Nope, never mind. It's fixed. I thought my controller was broken. It snapped right back into place. Moving on. That witness, for instance, Miss Orley. She would touch the back... Oh, wait, this is Phoenix, isn't it? Yeah, that's Phoenix. That witness, for instance, Miss Orley. She would touch the back of her neck during certain parts of her testimony. Did you not... Did you notice? Touching her neck, was it? Whoa, what's going on? The sensation. It's coming into focus. There, that twitch. It's so clear. It's like I could perceive her habit, like I couldn't before. Oh, I hit Y. Miss Orley, perhaps you are unaware of this yourself. But unaware of what? Whenever you get to a certain part of your testimony, you touch the back of your neck with your left hand. My neck? So what? What indeed, Justice? I hadn't noticed anything of the sort. When she said that part of testimony, she's subconsciously recalling something. Her body reacts to the memory, and she touches her neck. I'm sure of it. A memory? Would someone care to explain what he's babbling about? No, I'd like to take this moment to say this is probably my least favorite part of this game. The whole, spotting the body language part. Because it always, it never really feels like smooth. It feels like it's jammed in there. I mean, it really is, kind of. Maybe playing through this again, you know, actually being able to re-experience these trials, being able to remember them maybe, will change my opinion on that, but I'm really not a fan of it. And I believe it's only used like once per trial or something, maybe twice sometimes. No, I don't remember it being used twice. Well, we'll move on. This is highly unusual, but let's ask the defense. You claim the witness is remembering something. Maybe you have evidence of this memory to show us? Her habit is scratching her neck whenever she talks about the moment of the crime. So, what would remind her the most of the moment of the crime? Miss Orley, whenever you recall the crime that night, you scratch your neck. I've noticed it happens when you think about the moment of the crime. There must be some reason behind this habit of yours. I believe the weapon that left I believe the weapon that left an inerasable impression on your neck is this. Oh. Why is it moving around so weird? There we go. Bottle. Oh, it's called the deadly bottle. I didn't even notice that. Whenever she talks about the moment of the crime, she touches her neck. And what reminds us of us more than that moment? And what reminds us more of that moment than this bottle, the murder weapon? But something doesn't fit. If you were the only witness to the crime, why would that make you touch your neck like you're in pain? What's he talking about now? It was Mr. Smith, the victim, who was hit, not you. This is a cross-examination, not a cross-wild conjecture. The witness's habits? They're completely irrelevant. Justice, I'll admit, I'm a bit confused myself. This is certainly a unique cross-examination. I'll explain later. Just trust me. Now's our only chance to break her. Miss Sorley, please testify in detail about the moment of the crime. The very moment. Yet, I am knowing nothing. We know you're not Russian. The witness will testify, please. Now. Bah, fine. He's the one who did it. I didn't let him out of my sight until the cops got there. Now, who is he? You seem uneasy. You try standing up here. Oh, did I mix their voices then? I think I did. Her eyes are darting all over the place. I must be getting warm. Tell me, after the crime, what was the defendant like? Well, he must have been stunned by the weight of his crime. He sat in a daze at the table, until the cops came. Intriguing. I believe you've gotten all the testimony you're going to get out of this witness. So, what do you think about her testimony? I'll tell you what I think. Her testimony is flawed. Is basically bogus. It contradicts the evidence. What's that? Well, show us the evidence, Mr. Justice. The evidence that you claim contradicts the testimony. She didn't let him out of her sight until the cops got there. I know there's some evidence that contradicts that. Miss Orley, we have a record here that clearly contradicts what you said. It states that the police were alerted by a report from the defendant. And we know that the defendant left the room, climbed the stairs, and made the phone call from the first floor of the Borscht Bowl Club. Ah! Man, these little half-hearted exclamatories I'm doing. It makes me laugh almost. So, explain how you kept your eyes on the defendant when he left the room entirely. I'm not even gonna bother trying to do that scream. I'd probably break out in a laughing fit if I did. The man picked up the bottle and swung it. The man who picked up the bottle. The man. My own little giggles are distracting me. The man who picked up a bottle and swung it that night wasn't the defendant. Bum, 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 bum. Oh, that's different, I thought. You dirty cheat. Check his pockets. Oh, check his pockets, now! It's gone! The card's gone! You lose. Ah! How's that for voicing a character I can't see? Just then, Smith grabbed the bottle from next to Right, and he hit me. You, some master of cheating you turned out to be. Eek! No, don't laugh. You're the one doing that. When I came to, the victim was already dead. Is that it? That's why I couldn't reveal who I really was. If it came out that I was in league with Smith, I'd be a suspect for sure. Well, where does this leave us? Madness! This is madness! I'm dreaming! It must have been me who was hit with a bottle, and I'm imagining all of this. It appears our prosecution is at his wit's end, and frankly, I can't blame him. Mr. Gavin, what do you think about this turn of events? Mr. Gavin, sir? I believe that, as the defense in this case, we are compelled to call Miss Orley a big, fat liar. What? There were 3 were in the room. That. Okay. Let me get a drink so I can actually calm myself down. Like a madman today. And then we'll give this line another shot, yeah? 3 were in the room. 3 were in that room the night of the murder. The defendant, victim, and her. And she has a motive. A motive? Her plot foiled, the witness got into an argument with her client, Mr. Smith. And the denouncement of that argument was murder. What? I'm no killer. It's a trap. Someone's trying to frame me. What tangled webs we weave when we practice to deceive. So tangled we catch ourselves in the process. Mr. Wright. Such a hasty conclusion. It's not like you, Christoph Gavin. What are you saying? Why not consider the other possibility? That there was another person in the room at the time of the murder. Right, like Mr. Wright was saying before recess. A single card was swapped into the victim's hand after the murder. And the one who swapped the card didn't know 2 colors of cards were being used. A 4th person. Ha! This theory again. Your 4th person doesn't exist. Indeed. That's why I decided to bring this case to court. Here, where there's no escape and no chance for deception. The perfect place to catch the real criminal. The real criminal? And we're in luck. A clue to the real criminal's identity was kindly provided for us. And right at the beginning of the trial, no less. What? Apollo, perhaps you know what I'm talking about. Sorry. Remember what I said. The 4th person who swapped the cards made one critical error. He or she wasn't considering the color on the backs of the cards. Right. But how could such an obvious mistake occur? The cards used for the last game were red. Yet, there is one person here in our court who thought those cards were blue. Yeah, I had that impression too. But why? Well, Apollo, think you can figure out who it was? It's not me, I swear. Who is this 4th person? Why do I always get put on the spot like this? Let's hear what the defense has to say. Who was it? Who thought the cards used in the final game were blue? As I expected. Your eyes and ears are as sharp as your hair. I was right. Christoph Gavin, you were the 4th person that night. But of course Mr. Gavin knows the color of the cards. How would he? As you can see, the photo of the crime scene is in black and white. You can't tell which of the cards are blue, the ones on the floor or the table. But look! You can see the colors in this photo. Yes, but when he said the cards were blue, it was well before this evidence came to light. It is true that the defendant was engaged in a game of poker with the victim, yet it was only that, a game in the purest sense, a competition, Your Honor. A competition? Yes, a test of wits, a silent clash of passions. Only the cards, their backs wreathed in blue flame, know its final outcome. Well, Christoph? Mr. Gavin? Mr. Gavin, is something the matter? No, nothing. Excuse me, it was just so sudden. Right. Oh, I just toned his voice up a lot. Let's not do that. Right. You aren't seriously accusing me, are you? Oh, Christoph? You know, even I'd never take a joke this far. This has gone beyond ridiculous, beyond dumb. This is insanity. The defendant accusing his own defense attorney of murder? I assure you, I'm quite sane. But what possible connection could Mr. Gavin have to the victim? I wasn't aware of that. Oh, I wasn't aware that I had a connection to Mr. Smith either. Yes, but Mr. Gavin and the victim have never even met. Well, what if they have? Huh? There is a possibility, after all. They may have met the night before the game started. What are you suggesting? Is this the truth Mr. Wright was staying silent about? Well, only one thing to do. Mr. Wright, the defense would like to request that you testify to the court. The defense would like to request no such thing. Mr. Gavin, testimonies must relate to the case. How could anything happening before that game of poker be related? That is, perhaps, the dumbest lines stated in this game so far. I was about to say in the series, but there have been dumber things. I think we all know this. But this right here, that's just, I can't stand that. I'm not sure I follow, Mr. Gavin. As I explained before, the defense believes that Miss Orley... Am I to assume that you speak for Mr. Justice in this? He is the defense, not you. Mr. Justice, the matter of Mr. Wright's testimony is up to you. Oh, okay. I'll see if I can do a gulp. Just a little bit. Does the court, in your opinion, need to hear Mr. Wright's testimony? Yes. This was Mr. Wright's strategy. He was planning this all along, and I intend to see it through. The defense would like to request that Mr. Wright testify to the court. It too, Justice? You would betray me, your teacher? I'm sorry, Mr. Gavin. This isn't about loyalty. This is about the truth. This is about justice. Very well. The defendant, Mr. Wright, will take the stand, please. That evening, Kristoff and I had dinner. We sat at the table in this photograph. Shady Smith walked in 5 minutes after Kristoff left. When the trap failed, Smith hit the waitress. The girl was knocked out cold, and Smith was uncontrollable. I left to call the police. When I returned, he was dead, blood streaming from a cut on his forehead. That's when I made another phone call, to defense attorney Gavin. Mr. Gavin, you were at the Borscht Bowl Club the night of the murder? I dined with him rather frequently. And he talked to the defendant on the phone directly after the murder? Quite against my will, I had become involved in a murder. I thought I might be in need of a lawyer, so I called him. You were planning this all along, weren't you, Wright? Just because you wanted to drag me into your little murder trial. The only thing I want is the truth, as I did back then, and now. I thought my office was doing you a favor when we took on your defense. It appears that I was wrong. Very well. The defense may cross-examine the witness. You know, I feel like I have made Gavin's voice even deeper here, but I think that's fine. Well, yeah, I feel like I say that a lot, that we'll work on it, or we'll roll with it. I suppose I don't have much room to say much else here, but we'll go with it. Justice. Sir. He's lying, and you're going to expose him. Understood, sir. Mr. Gavin versus Mr. Wright. This can't end well. Why can't I have a normal trial? Okay, let's see. Where do we want to go? A cut on his forehead. Is that what it said in the autopsy? Yeah, blunt force trauma. That, you know, that'll count. Cut to his head. Well, we know what he means. Let's see. Let's press here. Could you explain why you called Mr. Gavin? I had obviously got involved in a rather sticky affair, and I figured Kristoff's law offices would give me a friend rate for my defense fees. Ugh, I said that weird and gross. Glad to hear you intend to pay. Oh, I'll pay in full, Kristoff. It was I who got you involved after all. Man, that was back-to-back bad deliveries on Phoenix? Dang. You may find the price of your defense quite high, my good friend. Quite high. Is this the truth that Mr. Wright was talking about? Justice, you know what you have to do. He's lying. Expose him. Now. Yes, sir. I have to think. What's Mr. Wright trying to tell me with this testimony? The truth has to be in there somewhere. And when you returned, the victim was already dead, yes. I'll admit, I was a little startled when I walked in. A little? He was bleeding from his forehead after all. I guess I'd be startled too if I walked in on a scene like that. You made the call to the police from the first floor of the restaurant, correct? Exactly. Cell phones don't get any signal in the hideout. Was anyone else on the first floor at that time? Not a soul. It was the middle of the night, after all. So there, in the darkened restaurant, I called the cops. After making the call, I returned to the hideout. It didn't seem right to leave the injured waitress alone. I don't think this is. I think this is a situation where I had to press all of them. So let's just go through them all. You had dinner with Mr. Gavin? Yes, he dines with me at the Borscht Bowl Club quite frequently. We were enjoying a usual. Don't you mean our usual? All right. We were enjoying a usual dinner at our usual spot, as usual. Usual. I always eat at the table closest to the piano. I see. Where Mr. Smith was sitting. So, the plates and such on the table were from your dinner? Indeed. The remnants of my meal with Kristoff. We dined for 2 hours, then Kristoff left. After that... Dang, how do you eat for 2 hours and not even finish? Seriously. Well, let me look at this. They have so much food left. After 2 hours? That's insane. Well, how do you... I'm sorry, I don't understand how someone does that. Alright. "5 minutes? So, the two of them could have passed in the restaurant during that time? That would have been a fateful encounter, to be sure." Hehehe. Oh, Mr. Wright, what was it that you said? Kristoff Gavin and Shady Smith may have met. I believe I did say that. Here I was all nervous about this meeting, and now we hear that he just passed in the hall? That does seem a little weak as a pretense for murder. Oh, it would be if that were really all that happened. If that were all that really happened. How to be more careful on the reading. Come on, Mr. Wright, what are you hiding this time? This is the last one we're pressing, I think. About this failed trap. This is the same trap that Miss Olga Orley mentioned. The plan was simple. Elegant, really. You see, we set up a trap of sorts. I was to plant a card in Wright's pocket beforehand, and then deal 5 aces during one of their games. When their hands were revealed, Smith would call him out and search Wright. He would then pull out the planted card, and the trap would snap shut. You swapped the cards! Man, now I'm feeling bad about the voice I gave to Smith. Just like that, the legend would be dashed to pieces. Yes, a harmless prank in essence. It was by a quirk of fate that I happened to discover it. quirk? I happened to put my hand in my pocket and found a card. The card she planted! Yes, I snuck a peek at it and found it was the 5 of Hearts. I had a feeling something might happen, so I disposed of the card before the game. Disposed? Where? There was an empty bottle of grape juice I had been drinking right beside me. I threw the card inside the bottle. An empty bottle of grape juice? The murder weapon? The murder weapon? Yes, I rolled it up and shoved it in. The colored glass makes it hard to see. A battle of wits between the deceiver and the would-be deceived. That sounds like a terrific drama. A card inside the murder weapon? That's strange. Did the police miss it in their investigation? Maybe I'll take a look. Mr. Wright, the poker head of courtroom number 3 approves of this battle of wits. Please revise your testimony with this new information. I discovered the trap during the game and disposed of the card in the bottle. Now, as some of you may recall, we did inspect this last time, and you can see there is, in fact, nothing inside the bottle. Nothing hidden behind the label, nothing in the cap. It's completely normal. Objection! Or completely empty, rather. Your Honor, what do you think about the... No, wait, No way. That's not it? Alright, okay. What do I do then? Dispose of the card in the bottle. Yes, yes. Did I have to actually, like, click the inspect button on the bottle? The bottle is completely empty. Is that all? Well, I've confirmed that it's empty. Oh, I wouldn't be able to see the card from there. Oh, but the cap is open. Alright, we'll press this new statement. Why in the bottle? I perceived my opponent's intent immediately. I'm used to entrapment, you see. I knew what was coming. Oh, so you struck first? I like that. I know every trick in the book. They don't work on me. At least when you get lucky and stick your hand in your pocket, they don't. Alright, so what do we present if not the bottle? I think crime scene photo works since the cap is gone. Not wrong. Come on, move. Oh, how I want you to. So I assume both these photos could work because neither of them have the cap on. Why do they keep doing that? Do we present this? Maybe. I think it's... I'm surprised I've gotten stumped on this first trial. Just missing that one press up, or present up, has completely thrown me off my game. Well, we know it's not the deadly bottle because we just tried that. What exactly? Huh. We're gonna save scum. I don't particularly care about being honorable here. So we're gonna save scum. Well, at least we'll save scum if it comes to that. For now, we're going to try and present the photograph of the bottle with the cap off. That's not it. Okay. What would it be then? Yes, you discover the trap and dispose of the card in the bottle. Why is it not this? Why does this not work? Does it work now that I've inspected it? We're going to find out if this is how this works. So if this is how the game works, then I need to do all the inspection dialogue from now on. It is. Okay, that's upsetting. Unless I misinputted and I just didn't notice, I think that's a very poor mechanic. Mr. Wright, if I may? Yes? I have examined the bottle, and I don't see any card in here. No? What, Mr. Wright? Surely ellipses isn't all you have to say for yourself. I can't say that I know what happened to the card. I did put it in that bottle, however. Huh? Perhaps a fifth person came and took it out. Oh, and a sixth person could have helped. Mr. Gavin, Mr. Wright is your client. My apologies, Your Honor. I won't have you disparaging our investigation either. We looked inside that bottle. There was nothing. So what's going on here? Is Mr. Wright hoodwinking us again? Or did the card just disappear? In any case, please continue the cross-examination. I'm afraid decisive contradictions call for decisive evidence. Oh. Push him harder, Push him harder, Justice. Break him. It's just you and the witness in the ring. Go for the KO. Why do I get the feeling we're not on our client's side anymore? Yep. Alright. Let's see, where do we go now? Let's look at the photograph real quick. Nothing particularly stands out to me here. Or here, really. Let's press again. See if I missed something. Okay, nope, it's the same dialogue. Yep, same dialogue. What am I missing here? What exactly is it? Is it really so... Is it really because he said cut? I don't think that would be the case. Ah, I see. He has his hat on. There we go. That's it. Mr. Wright, if I may. Yes? Take a look at this photograph of the crime scene. See the victim here? He's wearing a hat. I wouldn't think you could see blood on his forehead. Good point. Justice. Next time you point out an inconsistency, put a little more oomph into it. Mr. Wright, can you explain this to the court? Ah, I forgot to mention something. I was the one who put that hat on his head. Eh? You put the hat on the dead man's head? You wore it through our entire poker game. Oh, wrong voice. You wore it through our entire poker game. After calling the police, when I returned to the scene, his head was in full view. Shining bright, just like in this photograph. And I picked his hat up off the floor and put it on his head. Well, why did you do such a thing like that? All I can say is, I'm sorry. But that's the only thing I touched at the crime scene. So, Miss Orley didn't see it being the victim's, his head? I think not. She was out cold. I believe I was the only one who witnessed his head. Ah, here we go again. Mr. Gavin? Ahem, pardon. It just seems that our client is determined to lie his way through this case. Hey, he's still our client, isn't he? I believe that's enough of that. Mr. Gavin? This witness's testimony is more like a travesty. It's riddled with lies. I'm beginning to see how you came to lose your attorney's badge 7 years ago. Well, you certainly have a unique way of treating your clients, Kristoff. I never knew. I believe it was you who threw the first stone? Mr. Wright, if you intend to ever tell the truth about this case, it's now or never. Don't be misled. I haven't told a single lie here. Eh? When I noticed the trap, I put the card in the bottle to dispose of it. And when I put the hat on the victim's head, let's just say I had a reason for doing that as well. A reason? That reason is right here. Your cell phone? That night, recall that I spoke with defense attorney Gavin after calling the police. Just in case, I recorded our conversation. What's this? Now that we're all here, I see no reason why I shouldn't play it back for the court. It's a bit odd that this didn't get picked up by the police. Kristoff, I seem to be in a bit of trouble. What's this? Game not going well? Something like that. That gentleman who challenged you, he turned out to be good? He turned out to be dead. Someone hit him. Hard. You mean someone cracked that flawless bone china plate? It wasn't you, was it? Me? Please. The cops should be here any minute. I'm in your hands, should it come to that. Man, I can't believe I gave a weird delivery on the most important line. But then again, that is a really odd phrase. Bone china plate? No, that's still wrong emphasis. Bone china plate. There we go, that's it. A kind of porcelain, very smooth and shiny, and not plate, but pate. I believe he was referring to a certain gentleman's balding forehead. The court appreciates the defendant's discretion in not indicating my forehead. Did I say that right? Yeah. Wait a second, something's not right about that phone call. So, after Mr. Gavin ate dinner with you, he left the Borscht Bowl Club? Most certainly. Then how did he know? When did he see this bone china plate? Oh, that's right! Yes, that was when I began to see my good friend in a different light. Troubled, I returned to the crime scene. And when I spotted Mr. Smith's head again, I realized exactly what was wrong. Well, Mr. Gavin, the stage has been set. Perhaps you would like to explain this to the court. Exactly how did you come by your privileged knowledge of the victim's head? So, this is your reason? The reason why you put the victim's hat back on? Your point, Mr. Gavin? Oh, I have an insect. Begone. Perish. Swat. Got it. Your point, Mr. Gavin? It's come down to this, has it? Phoenix Wright. Order! I will have order. Mr. Payne? Yes, Your Honor. I believe this court has been left with no other choice. Are you prepared to hear Defense Attorney Gavin's testimony? Yeah, well, as the prosecutor, Very well. We'll break for 10 minutes, after which Mr. Gavin will take the stand for a cross-examination. Are we all clear on that? Crystal clear, Your Honor. Very well, this will be the final recess for the day. Here we are, 2/3 of the way through. We've got this. More than enough time to finish it off. Look, we didn't even take an hour to do that. Mr. Gavin and Mr. Wright are both in the judge's chamber. Who'd have thought today would turn out to be like this? May I? Who's this? Ah! Okay. Okay, wait, oh, hold on. Oh my god, I can't believe I forgot that I had to voice her. I even said earlier I can't do... okay. How are we gonna go about this? May I? Okay, that just sounds a bit weird with me doing it. Okay. Water. Had. Now let's really put our brains into this and our throats as well. How do we voice Little Miss Magician? I mean, I can perfectly imagine what I want her to sound like, but I am also perfectly well aware that I absolutely cannot do that. So I need to find a nice middle ground. Huh? What? Hello, sir. Please, pick a card. What's all this about? Is this one okay? Excellent. I have a message for you. The last hand is about to be played. You'll need a trump card to make it. A trump card? The card you have chosen is magical. Use it wisely and the game is yours. That's all. An ace. Where do I remember that card from? This Mr. Smith's hand has 3 aces and Wright's 2. It is 5 aces in all. It is true. I have seen it. A 5th ace. There was cheating, I swear to you. The missing 5th ace. Wait, this blotch of red. Is this blood? You have your trump card. Now it's up to you to cut the deck and draw the truth. My father's fate is in your hands. I know you can do it. She gives us off such a different impression between those two sprites. I really don't think they should have used that second one there. They should have kept it for the next time there's an encounter. But, I'm not here to do a detailed analysis and criticism and commentary of this. I'm just mostly here to voice it and to enjoy it for myself. So we'll just keep on going. This bloodstained card is my trump card for finding the truth? I fell into a deep thought as my mind raced to understand what all this meant. Oh, that was terrible reading. That girl, I'd seen her recently, but where? That's when I made the connection. That's a long pause. For no dialogue, huh? Oh man, that was really an awkward sequence, huh? Well, it's fine. We shouldn't have to deal with anything like that again. Court will now reconvene. Defense Attorney Christoph Gavin, will you please take the stand? Now then, if you would, Mr. Payne. Yes, Your Honor. Will the witness state his name and occupation? Is this farce necessary, Your Honor? Believe me, far stranger things have gone in this courtroom. Once there was a parrot on the stand. Oh, that was a weird one. Fine, I'll play along. First, there's one thing we need to have made clear. How did you know about the secret beneath the victim's hat? By secret, I'm guessing he means the fact that Mr. Smith was bald. Forgive my curiosity, but what is it about this fellow's head? Your Honor seems to have an inordinate interest in it. Oh my god, I completely forgot that that's Wright's new voice. Hey, look at this, we get some of the classic music. I wouldn't call it inordinate, Mr. Gavin. Mr. Wright! What do you think you're doing, Wright? Wow, things sure look different from the other side. You know what I mean, Apollo? Speaking of looking from the other side, let's consider something for a second. The victim wore that hat all night, never once taking it off except for that one time. That one time being the instant he was hit. Oh! When Mr. Wright returned from reporting the crime, the hat was lying on the floor. Mr. Wright picked it up, placed it on the victim's head. In other words, in order to have seen Mr. Smith's bald head, you would have had to been there in the hideout at the time of the crime. In other words, I must be the real killer, is what you are trying to say. Not bad, Apollo. Mr. Gavin, I'm afraid that I haven't been entirely honest with the court. What? Oh, I assure you, I had the noblest of intentions. I did it all to protect my client, Mr. Wright. Yet, I'm afraid in the current situation I have little reason to hide anything. Very well, allow me to tell you the truth of what happened that night. Finally, you may begin your testimony. Tell us, how were you involved in the events of that fateful night? The rage I sensed in that man that night troubled me, so I returned to the club. I went down to the basement and peeked through the little window into the hideout. It must have been right after the murder took place. The victim was dead, as he appears in the photo. A bald head, an unconscious girl, and Wright, holding a bottle in his hands. I sensed that Ooh, sorry about that. A bit tired is all. I sensed that was not the best place for me to be at the time, and so I left. That's when when the call came from Mr. Wright. Oh, no, he dropped the Mr. That's important, actually. Important for character writing, not for the case. So, you witnessed the murder? For better or worse, I missed the actual moment of the deed. Mr. Gavin, may I remind you that you are on Mr. Wright's defense team? Your testimony is clearly disadvantageous to your client. What else could I say? I am standing on the witness stand, after all. So you are, Mr. Gavin. And you had to testify as you just did. You had to tell them you saw the scene of the crime through that little window. Mr. Wright, you had to say that, because that was the only probable window of opportunity, right, Apollo? Oh. Mr. Wright, the defense should do the cross-examination, not the defendant. Mr. Justice, are you prepared? Yes, Your Honor. I can't believe I'm going up against Mr. Gavin. This trial's getting weirder and weirder. Now, I will say, before we get into this, I'm not a fan of the music they use whenever the testimonies are being given in this game. It feels, or at least the one that they've been using for this past few, it feels far too fast-paced, considering how the witness is still retaining their calm, their wits. It'd be more fitting if we're shortly before a breakdown. Now, this music right here. Do we have a map in here? No, I do not believe so. Okay, well, I can see the issue here. The issue is that if this was the case, the cards would have no need to be swapped. So... Oh, what am I talking about? The call. Wright has to go upstairs to get the call. To do the call. Okay, we'll start here at the end, and then we'll work from the start. Wouldn't it have been better to wait for the police to arrive? Remember, though, by that time I was already at Wright's defense attorney. It wouldn't do for me to become part of the investigation. That makes sense. Or does it? I'm confused. Well, what happened next? Okay, well, that does not work. He has contradicted himself. I can't do anything about it. He said he had already received a call, but he also chose to leave because he had received a call. Okay, maybe pressing this will do something for us. Where were you when the phone call came? I had already left the Borscht Bowl Club by that time. On the phone, he asked me to defend him. Naturally, I was surprised. I accepted, however. I couldn't abandon him. So kind of you. Okay, this is just... I don't want to read the ending where it loops around. The little hint they give you. For those of you who don't know, if you press on the last statement in a testimony, there's a little back and forth between you and your assistant that's supposed to hint you in on what to do. It's never particularly interesting or deep or anything. No. I've already seen one instance of You know, he's doing this little head tilt. I think that's his little lying thing. But I did see him do it earlier. I don't remember if he was doing that then. Okay, we'll press on these two then. The little window. You mean the one used to keep watch up the stairs? Yes, a relic of the ancient past. The Black Marketeers used it, I believe. Why did you go through the trouble of peeking in through the window? Wouldn't it have been easier to just open the door and go into the room? I didn't want to upset Wright, you see. Upset Miss Wright? Yes, what if my fears had been unfounded? I'd be walking in on their match. Bad form, to say the least. So far everything he's saying makes sense. Those were the only three at the scene of the instant crime? Well, yes, as far as I saw at least. Then we're back to where we started. The killer was the defendant, Phoenix Wright. Who else could it have been? But why didn't you talk to the police? 2 reasons. First, I didn't actually witness the very moment of the crime, which is a dumb reason. Second, my office was asked to defend Wright. Even after seeing what I had seen, I couldn't abandon my friend. There must have been someone else there at the moment of the crime. Oh wait, that's a terrible intonation. Justice, I just said I saw no one, not a soul. But that goes against what Mr. Wright said. Ah yes, this mysterious 4th person. Who would conveniently be the real killer, I suppose? That was also poor delivery. Glad to see we agree, Mr. Gavin. Let me pose a question, then. Tell me, what possible reason did the real killer have to swap the cards in the victim's hand? Ah, here we are. Perhaps you can show us a reason why such a thing would be necessary? How can I show something I can't find myself? Remember, Apollo, the card that was swapped out was the 5th ace. The 5th ace, right. Well, Mr. Justice, the question of why the killer would swap out a card has been raised. Can you point to a reason? Yes, I can, actually. It's now or never. The defense would like to present evidence to the court. Evidence showing the reason why a card was swapped out. Then go ahead and point out your reason, Mr. Justice. Why did the killer take the 5th ace? Oh, we can just go ahead and show this. Big old blood splotch on it. A single drop of blood marks the front of the card. I hit the wrong button. I meant to present. Okay. My reason is, this. Is that an ace? Why? Why, it's got blood on it. Right next to the spade. What? Oh, right. Oh, these whisper screams are going to be the end of me. This is insane. Why wasn't I told about this? Why? Could this be the missing 5th ace? Inconceivable. How could you? What are you doing with that card? Well, that's the thing. Why is Mr. Gavin so upset? It's just a fishy card from some fishy girl. Oh, that card? It's mine. That is, I picked it up at the Borscht Bowl Club that night after the murder had occurred. I gave it to my daughter. Cards are her stock and trade, after all. No, no, impossible. Unacceptable. The court can't accept this evidence. It's a fraud. A fraud? How can you be so sure? What? I would think the only person who could claim it was a fraud would be the one who took the real card from the crime scene. The real killer. Allow me to elaborate. What if this trace of blood was the reason? The reason for the killer to take the card from the scene of the crime. Where are you going with this? Man, I gotta finish this quick. I have hiccups starting up. Take another look at the photo, and at the victim's head. At the moment of the crime, his hat fell to the floor, and a trickle of blood ran from his forehead down the back of his head. Couldn't a drop of that blood have fallen on one of the cards? I suppose. The killer then took the card to hide the blood. Regardless, that evidence is non-permissible. Oh? Right. Regardless of how you wasted the last 7 years, you used to be a lawyer. You know what a serious crime it is to conceal evidence. Oh? We can discuss the finer points of our legal system later. What's important now is that I've answered your question. Well, what are you talking about? You wanted to know why the killer would have taken a card from the crime scene. And now I've told you. That one drop of blood would have been decisive evidence, you see. This is baseless conjecture. Baseless. Ah, this reminds me, I forgot to get that image for you. Why would I want to bring an image for you guys from the original game? Well, because I just wanted to show you. But here we'll see it live. Oh, I assure you, it's quite based. Perfect. Do I have a screenshot button? I do. Haha, screenshot acquired. What? Oh, wrong voice. It's amazing, really, how a single drop on a single card can lead us to the truth. It's quite simple. Well, Apollo? Yes? Try picturing the scene of the crime in your head. Oh, come on. Phoenix, you gotta give the line delivery a bit faster than that so I can keep up. Ah, look at this. Fancy. We couldn't do this on DS. Or I guess we could. We had that stupid Blue Badger video. The murder took place in the hideout. The body of the luckless victim was found at the poker table. And before the killer swapped a card out, there was a single card with a drop of blood on it in the victim's hand. Given this, there's one decisive problem with this scene. Sorry for that pause. Well, what is it? Let's keep it simple, shall we? Given that there was a drop of blood on a card, whose position in this diagram doesn't fit? The victims, the killers, the witnesses, the second witnesses? Whose position doesn't fit the bloody card? Well, let's see. The cards, of course, are on the table, so it would have been the victim, wouldn't it? I feel like I'm getting this wrong here, because to be honest, I spaced out a bit there. But it's fine, we have 3 HP left. Oh, isn't the victim's position that's the problem? I don't follow your logic here, Mr. Justice. Well, look, the victim was struck on the head, sending him back in his chair. You think any blood would fall behind the body, not onto the table in front of him? Ah! Take a look at the photo again. If he bled in this position, the blood would fall on the floor, not the cards. Why, that's right. So, what does this mean? Incidentally, we were sitting in swivel chairs. Swivel chairs? Oh, man. Apollo, try turning the chair around. Can I turn it around? Oh, I can. That's really weird. The chair was facing the other way? It would have to be. So, we have to assume that at the time of the murder, the victim's chair was facing away from the table. When Mr. Wright returned from informing the police, which way was the chair facing? When I came back to the room, the body was facing as seen in the photo. That would mean The killer turned the chair back around. Let's take the next step. Look at the diagram once more. We know now that the victim was facing away from the table at the time of the murder. But this creates another significant contradiction. Again? Let's test your reasoning skills again, shall we? Apollo, whose location on this diagram contradicts our new understanding of the crime? The victims? The killers? The witnesses? The second witnesses? Whose location creates a contradiction if the victim was facing away? Well, if we're assuming that K is representing killer and not Phoenix, it would be this. If we're assuming we are calling witness 2 the killer, then it would be this. I'm not entirely sure which one, so we're going to start with K. The victim was struck from the front, correct? Indeed. Well, wouldn't it be hard for the killer to hit him from the front, sitting where his indicator currently is? I would think it'd be quite hard, yes. Yes, but what you're saying makes no sense. Why would the victim suddenly turn to face the wall in the middle of a game? I believe a sufficient reason will soon come to light. What? There's something in this diagram that makes far less sense, actually. Look again at the diagram. Apollo, if the victim was struck while he was sitting as shown here, where would his assailant be standing? Try marking it on the diagram. What? But there's no room to put a mark. Where the killer should be? Don't worry. Let's think it through and see what we find. We know that the victim was facing toward the wall at the time of the crime. That's the only thing we know for sure. Try to forget about everything else. Where would the killer have to be standing to strike our victim from the front? The killer had to be standing, well, here. You get points for flair, but that's about all you get. I thought I was onto something there, too. I hardly need to point out that standing there would be impossible. The victim is facing a solid cupboard. Or are you claiming the killer climbed in the cupboard and hit him from above? Well, climb to the cupboard, not climb in. It's simple logic, really. If this was the only place the killer could have been standing, then that means at the very moment of the crime... Wait, I know. At the moment of the crime, the cupboard wasn't there. What's this now? I mean, that's the only explanation, right, Mr. Gavin? Your Honor, I have a suggestion for the defense. You should arrange to examine the cupboard in the hideout immediately. Bailiff, send a team to the crime scene immediately. Have them try to move the cupboard. Your Honor? What? There's one more thing your men should look for. Please give this to the bailiff. Yes, I see. You do belong in the courtroom after all, Mr. Wright. Without that wrong intonation. I do my best. But let's forge ahead here while we wait. Look at the diagram once again. It's been changed. If the killer were standing here at the time of the crime, then this cupboard wasn't there, which means, Apollo, try moving the cupboard. Thank you. As you can see, the cupboard was this problem. At the time of the murder, it has to have been as shown here. Now everything is in place to... Oh, I have been doing the wrong voice for Phoenix, haven't I? Let me refresh real quick. Okay, now everything is in place to reconstruct the moment of the crime. Oh my! What's this? What is it now? Look at the diagram of the crime scene once more. It appears we found yet another contradiction. What I believe to be the final contradiction, in fact. Huh? Oh, dang! Notice something, Apollo? Our line of deduction is rapidly approaching its logical conclusion. Now then, Mr. Justice, please point to the new contradicting indicator. Is it the victim, the killer, the witness, the second witness? I'm getting a bit tired of listing out every single person. Let's just go ahead and say it's the second witness. About this cupboard. Are we all okay with assuming it was moved? Sure, why not? Well, if it was, something really doesn't fit. The cupboard would be would completely cover up the window to the stairs. Ah, that's right. Someone standing outside wouldn't be able to see in. Someone like Mr. Gavin. What? What did you say? Oh? Is the coolest defense in the West losing his cool? Don't expect me to play along with your little game, right? It's only a game until someone gets killed, Mr. Gavin. And someone was, while the window to that room was blocked by a cupboard. So, Mr. Gavin, perhaps you would like to explain to the court. Exactly where did you witness the crime scene from? Excuse me, Your Honor. Order! This is a court of law and I will have order. We just now received word from our investigative team at the Borscht Bowl Club. They've examined the cupboard in the hideout, Your Honor. Oh? And what did they find? Well, Your Honor, it turns out there's a secret passage behind it. What? Oh man, whisper screams. How many times am I gonna have to talk about it? How many times am I gonna laugh about it, really? Hopefully I'll get used to it by the end of this. Yes, I believe I mentioned something of the sort before. This is one of the tricks to the room many of our regulars know about. I do remember him saying something about that, now that he mentions it. A secret passage is handy to have. Is a handy thing to have when you're engaged in illegal going-ons. Never know when you might need to duck away from the eyes of the law. So, the room also has a secret passage. Where does it go? The other side connects to the restaurant above. The underworld bosses could get away from the cops and enjoy a cold bowl of borscht, no doubt. Just like our killer. Bum bum. Bum bum. You see where our line of simple deductive reasoning has led us, Apollo? I see it, but I don't believe it. That girl wasn't kidding when she said I needed this trump card for the last hand. At the time of the murder, the window was blocked and the victim's hat was only off his head for a few minutes between Mr. Smith's murder and Mr. Wright's return from calling the cops. In other words, the only place anyone could have seen the victim's bald head was from inside the hideout. Well, Mr. Gavin, come on, say something. Please, sir. Dare I ask what really happened that night? Actually, I think we can probably figure it out ourselves at this point. That night, for whatever reason, our killer had a date with Mr. Smith. A date with destiny. There he crouched, hidden in the secret passageway behind the cupboard, holding his breath, waiting for just the right moment. Then the chance came, and he took it. Rah! Eee! Why did you do that? Oh wait. Whose dialogue was that? Oh, that was Olga. Oh, Olga, okay. Miss Olga Orley was out cold, struck by Mr. Smith. But his time was soon to come. Mr. Wright went upstairs to call the cops, leaving Mr. Shady Smith alone in the hideout with the unconscious dealer. Then our killer stepped out of the secret passage and into the hideout. The victim must have heard the cupboard sliding aside. He wheeled his chair around to look, and after the deed was done, the criminal must have seen the blood on the card. He would have, of course, realized the need to destroy the evidence. That single spot of blood told the whole story of the crime. Too bad for him, he didn't linger any longer in the hideout that night. If he had, he might have noticed the cards on the floor, and the fact that they were all red. Well, it seems this trial has taken yet another turn. I'm truly, truly sorry I had to see this day come, Mr. Gavin. Mr. Gavin? Mr. Payne? Yes, Your Honor. The prosecution will continue its investigation. As for Mr. Phoenix Wright, the defendant, he is hereby cleared of all suspicion. Wah! Believe me when I say that I don't believe that this is happening, Mr. Gavin. But I'm afraid circumstances call for me to issue a warrant for your arrest. Immediately. Oh, no need to apologize. I rather enjoyed myself. It's not every day you get to witness a legendary attorney's dirty tactics firsthand. Your point, Mr. Gavin? Frankly, Your Honor, I am shocked that a person of your caliber would be taken in by such a low-grade parlor trick. Excuse me? The defendant is cleared of all suspicion? This is hardly the time for jokes, Your Honor. Mr. Wright hasn't proven anyone's guilt or innocence here. What he has done is issue illegal evidence to put the blame on someone else. And not just anyone else, but me, his own defense attorney. Illegal evidence? Let me ask you, Mr. Gavin. Is there still any reason the President to suspect me of wrongdoing? Of course. This bottle, for instance. The bottle of grape juice Mr. Wright was drinking. I'd like to make a quick aside. Illegal evidence in Phoenix Wright basically does not exist. I remember there was like a picture book or something in the bonus trial, the first game, that discussed the 3 rules that you needed to follow to make evidence legal. It was basically everything. And also, we clearly see multiple times throughout the series the prosecution just adds stuff in whenever they please. So this is once again another poor argument from Mr. Gavin. How do you intend to explain away the fingerprints on the murder weapon? And not just any fingerprints, am I right, Mr. Payne? Actually, yes. The fingerprints on the bottle were, upside down. I seem to recall this being an issue earlier. The court, and this case, demand an explanation. I can think of only one reason why one would hold a bottle upside down, and that is to hit someone with the bottom of the bottle. Well, Your Honor? That seems like a rather violent train of thought, Mr. Gavin. There's many reasons why someone would hold a bottle upside down. See how the caught fish squirms to the last. Well, Apollo? Yes? Your boss seems awfully concerned about this bottle still. But I'm sure you can come up with a suitable explanation, just like that. Yeah. Just like what? Why would anyone grab a bottle upside down other than to... Don't let him trick you into thinking his explanation is the only legitimate one. We're not idiots here. Is there really another? Take another look at the court record. I believe you'll find a simple answer there, in plain sight. How about you just say the answer in plain words? It would be hasty to deliver a verdict with unanswered questions indeed. Well, Mr. Justice? Mr. Gavin said that the court in this case demand an explanation. Don't worry, Justice. Don't worry. Justice won't leave until justice is done. Perhaps the defense would care to enlighten the court. What evidence do you have to explain why the fingerprints in the bottle are upside down? Well, of course, that would be this image here. It's actually easier to show than explain, Your Honor. Place that bottle on the floor next to your chair. Excuse me? On the floor? Yes. Now reach down and pick it up. Without getting out of your chair. Ah! See? You naturally go to pick the bottle up by its neck. With your fingers upside down. Now look at this photograph taken on the night of the murder. The defendant, Mr. Wright, sat here, playing piano, bottles of grape juice on the floor to the side of his piano bench. He wouldn't have naturally picked up the bottles upside down several times. Wow, I can't believe it was that simple. Recall our dinner that evening, Christoph. I was drinking my usual juice then, too. Basically, you used the bottle on the table to do the deed. But then you must have remembered. So you went and picked up one of the bottles from under the piano, and you switched the bottles. You took one of Mr. Wright's bottles and made it look like a murder weapon. I'm surprised that made it past the lab. Order, order, order. What do you have to say to these charges, Mr. Gavin? Fascinating. So this is the legendary attorney's famed tactic of misdirection. What? You claim that I switched the bottle? Where is your proof? Proof? Well, that's, as I thought, more baseless conjecture. I'm afraid your bottle of proof is quite empty. I wouldn't be so sure about that. Your Honor, when you initiated the investigation of the hideout earlier, do you recall I requested an additional investigation? Ah, yes, I have your memo about that right here. Retrieve the bottles from under the piano at the Borscht Bowl Club. And here's one of the bottles in question. What, are you going to dust that for fingerprints too? I would be surprised if any were on that but his. Mr. Gavin probably wouldn't make such a novice mistake, true. That bottle won't bear a trace of anything. Say, Apollo. Yes? Why don't you go ahead and examine that bottle? But why? Just humor me. Mr. Wright, that bottle will solve this case once and for all. What? That's some bottle. There's something inside the bottle. What's this? That card? It can't be. Recall that unpleasant woman's testimony for a moment. Miss Olga Orley? Yes, our little swindling Devotchka. That night, I planted the card like I was supposed to, and Mr. Wright lost the hand just like he was supposed to. Then Mr. Smith searched him. But the planted card was gone. The trap failed. Wait, this isn't... You're telling me that this is the planted card you disposed of? The one you mentioned in this piece of testimony? I'm not gonna voice a flashback. We'll just get through it. I mean, we did this just earlier. I'll voice flashbacks if it's between streams, but not for here. The Five of Hearts. This is the card. The bottles were swapped. And the only one who could have done that was the fourth person in the club that night. You, Mr. Christoph Gavin. That is all. Is this your idea of revenge, Phoenix Wright? Revenge? Revenge for the events that took away your attorney's badge 7 years ago. My past is like my logic, straight and true. Nothing's changed. All I did was point the finger of justice in the proper direction. Fine. I'm glad we could have this little tit-a-tat. I don't know that phrase, actually. Tot-a-tot. Right? Alright, I'll have to check it later. This is insane. What about me? Don't I get to prosecute anyone? I believe this time we've finally come to the end of our trial. Mr. Payne, do you have a report for us on Christoph Gavin? He's admitted everything. We're processing his arrest now. I see. Still, one has to wonder why he would do such a thing. He didn't even have a connection to the victim, did he? None that we know of. Mr. Wright, have you anything to add? I'm afraid I can't shed any more light on the matter. About this victim, Mr. Shady Smith. His occupation was listed as traveler, an odd profession to be sure, and that's all we know about him. I'll arrange a follow-up investigation, Your Honor. Good. Mr. Wright? Yes? 7 years and you still haven't lost your touch. Christoph Gavin was a man with much significance for me, both as a friend and a lawyer. He was extremely talented, to be sure. I needed 2 things before I could confront him. The first was a place where no injustice would be tolerated. This courtroom. The second was a man who would tolerate no injustice. In other words, a defense attorney. You, Apollo. Me? This is a dark time for our legal system. A twisting of justice brought about by our very own initial trial system. We have to set it right. Mr. Wright. Our work lies ahead of us, and I, for one, am looking forward to it. Well, this seems like a good time to announce a verdict. The court finds the defendant, Mr. Phoenix Wright, not guilty. Ah, yes. I suppose it's just, it should take a time to note, initial trial thing he mentioned. I believe he is referring to the fact that in Phoenix Wright universe, or in Phoenix Wright country, trials can last a maximum of 3 days, including investigate. And so they start basically as soon as the investigation starts. And obviously, this is terrible. And as I have previously noted, characters have noted how terrible it is previously as well in universe. Court is adjourned. Thanks, Paulo. You came through just like I thought you would. I'm pretty sure I didn't do a thing in there. It was you who cornered Mr. The killer. I couldn't have done it by myself. You sensed it too today, didn't you? Your ability? Ability? Yes, a sensitivity I lack. You'll come to understand it soon enough. Wait, I wonder if he means flashback time. We'll just get through it. You know, that weird thing with the physical body language. What was that, Mr. Wright? You'll have to find the answers to that question yourself. The answer. Right. Today was full of questions without answers. Most of them about Mr. Gavin. What possible reason could he have to commit murder? Perhaps you'll learn that in the days to come. Did I voice those people correctly? Yeah, I did. It's just a weird place for them to swap. Huh? Wait, you don't know, do you? This locket is the key. Huh? Oh, that reminds me, I met the girl whose picture is in your locket. Oh, come on, don't show us the whole animation every time. Your daughter, right? That's right, she's my daughter. You know, you were right about this locket. I took this off his neck the night he died. But it looks like our dear Russian scam artist saw me. So the truth is, this locket really did belong to him. Wait, but that's perjury. You testified. You said that locket was yours. I said no such thing, actually. Huh? I merely said that it was a locket with my daughter's picture inside. A subtle distinction, but a distinction nonetheless. And it's the truth. Wait, but then why? Why was the victim wearing a locket with a picture of your daughter inside of it? Sometimes the straightest path to the truth isn't the best one. Give it time. You're still just getting started with your career. Speaking of which, I may be out of the job. I work for Gavin Law Offices after all. Still can't believe I just saw Mr. Gavin get led away in handcuffs. Apollo? Yes? How about coming to work for me? You mean at the Wright & Co. Law Offices? I mean, there's not a single attorney in my generation that doesn't know it. I can imagine that. I can't imagine that to be true, but... Wait, but didn't you... You're not a... Oh, I turned in my badge, yes. I'm not an attorney anymore. That incident 7 years ago. That legendary trial. And at the middle of it all was one man. Phoenix Wright. The case reached its sad conclusion, and he left law for good. Have you ever thought about coming back to the courts? I'm not qualified to stand in a court of law, I'm afraid. Didn't you notice in today's trial? There was a single piece of forged evidence. Forged evidence? What are you talking about? I'm talking about the evidence that shouldn't have existed. A naughty magician's trick. One piece of evidence struck me as odd, it's true. It just seemed, well, too perfect. I'll bet this was the evidence that was forged. You mean this, don't you? I got this from your daughter, Mr. Wright. Yes, that card couldn't have been found at the crime scene. Why? Because the killer took it with him when he left, leaving the wrong card in his place. Luckily for us. The court can't accept this evidence. It's fraud. Wait, I said I wasn't going to do the voices on the flashbacks, didn't I? My verdict was already handed down 7 years ago. Then you really... Yes, I forged this card. One look at the crime scene should have told you it wasn't real. But you can't do something like that and call yourself an attorney. Who's calling themselves an attorney, Apollo? So it's true. The rumor is true. 7 years ago. None of that matters much now, does it? I punched him. It's your story from here on out, Apollo. Perhaps I can help you turn the next page. My office's address. Drop in if you like. Mr. Wright. Oh, about your uppercut. Try yelling, "Take that," next time. I find it packs a little more punch. And Apollo, thanks for today. I had a good time. And with that, Mr. Wright walked out the door. And that's how my first trial ended. A lot of mysteries went unsolved. And at that time, I had no idea they were all related. Every mystery that day, connected by a single thread of logic. I'd find that out soon enough. My name is Apollo Justice, attorney at law, and this is how my story begins. Ah, perfect. That went great. Well, let's go ahead and save our progress, of course. And you know what? That is all for today. Yep, that's right. We're just gonna go ahead and stop. Ah, my neck. Man, it's a short stream today, I know. But we got quite a bit done. Not to mention, I think I did pretty good on keeping the voices consistent compared to last time, not within this trial really, or this session. But, you know, I think as long as we're improving, it's all good. But with that being said, I still forgot to make an ending screen, so we're not improving in every sense, I suppose. So, with that being said, this is Seeker the Scuffed. Thank you for tuning in, and I am signing off.